You know my hat is already broken. Why'd you have to do it again?
Oh no, Hi guys, welcome back to Top 4 at the Norwalk PC. We're just having fun throwing plushies around.
And stealing them from each other.
I'm not
Breaking
stealing it.
hearts all around.
I snatched it like a certain fletchling snatches certain moves. Actually, speaking of fletchling,
That was really impressive.
it was. Thank you. Speaking of fletchling, he wants to get us. Yeah. Okay. So speaking of fletchlings, we have Gio versus Andrew. So
Andrew Fletcher.
No, I wish. Andrew Weaver. Oh no, we'll be right back apparently, guys. Oh, alright, here we go. Why do you listen to him? Don't indulge him.
He wasn't gonna move.
All right.
You could press it for him. Don't indulge him. So we have Giovanni Costa versus Andrew Weaver. Andrew having been the undefeated seed going into this.
I mean, he really wanted to see his team name, but I actually have no idea what it is. I missed it. Don't care.
Who cares? Alright, so on your left, obviously, Gio's team that we've seen before, as well as that Dustman, Necrozma, Incineroar, Tapu Fini, Kyogre, Eevee, and Totem Mimikyu. And on the right side, Andrew with that Yveltal, Stakataka, Incineroar, Victory Bell, Tapu Koko, and Groudon. We've seen that Victory Bell, actually it was one of the matches that you came in at the end of.
It was true. It was nice. I liked seeing the Mimikyu make.
So here's the fun part. So you've got Rain and you've got a Sunsetter, right? That Victory Bell kind of has its choice now of being a water type move or a fire type move, depending on what weather is set up.
That's true.
So it'll be fun to see that. We know that Gio's actually running a Trick Room team, so that Necrozma and that Totem Mimikyu both have Trick Room on them. That Necrozma also is carrying a weakness policy. So very interesting set right there.
Have you seen this team in action before?
Yes, he was actually streamed round 1 versus Haley.
Oh, very
yes.
nice.
And then Andrew, obviously, we've known that his Pokemon are just generally very fast.
And the Trick Room can really mess up their any potential setup plan.
Yeah, so I think if Andrew's very aware of like what Gio is like, then you kind of got this thing where you kind of have to stop that Trick Room from coming up. But Andrew also has a Stack Attacker, which could really benefit from that as well, because it'll be the first one. But Incineroar and Totem Mimikyu versus that Groudon and that Yveltal lead on Andrew's side. So we are going to be getting that sun out. I forgot how big Totem Mimikyu actually looks. And it is a totem size. And we've also got that Dark Aura from Yveltal here.
I mean, the side looks comparable to Groudon there. It was huge.
Oh my god, I want a Totem Mimikyu to hug now, guys. But yeah, so I mean, you've got big up potential from Gio's side, and you also have to remember that you have to break the disguise on Mimikyu, so you have to double tap into Mimikyu if you want to try to make sure that that Trick Room is going to be denied. However, Incineroar is also at the stage where it might be able to take a Precipice Blades from that Groudon. The Groudon is at -1 right now.
Yeah, I still think it's a little interesting to see the Mimikyu in this format, knowing how prevalent like Cosmo or Solgaleo and Lunel, their moves, their signature moves can knock out one Mimikyu, bypassing his disguise entirely.
Yeah, I mean, and we've also got the Incineroar who benefits from that Dark Aura, but we've got Andrew's own Incineroar coming in place of that Groudon, so going to be intimidating Gio's Incineroar and his Totem Mimikyu. Obviously, a little bit, actually kind of important on both, because Mimikyu is generally, more of a physical attacker.
True, but also has a lot of tricks up his sleeve. Same Trick Room itself. There's also Taunt. Various other support moves that are not affected by this Intimidate here.
Ooh,
and there we see.
Yeah, Mimikyu is actually able to get up that Trick Room, even though its disguise is broken. Reveals a Focus Sash, which we actually didn't see in that first round against Haley back in the first round of Swiss. However, now Gio has that disadvantage against Andrew, where Andrew now has the potential to fake out that Incineroar and that knockoff is going to be able to do a lot of damage now to whatever Pokemon, because they both all the dark type moves here are benefiting now from that Dark Aura.
I like the item choice of Focus Sash and Mimikyu there. It offers an extra layer of insurance, except against the certain moves like Moongeist Beam and Sunseal Strike.
Yeah, alright, so instead of going for the U-turn into the Yveltal spot though, so Yveltal protecting itself, as Will-O-Wisp from Mimikyu also goes down into that Yveltal spot. So Flare Blitz from Andrew is actually going to be free to take down whatever it wants right now in the sun. It's going to go after that Totem Mimikyu. It's going to easily pick up that knockout, that Focus Sash being knocked off, making sure that Mimikyu goes down. But that Mimikyu going down does mean that Gio can at least get that Duskmane Necrozma in for free if he wants that, has it in the back, or Kyogre if that's what he's carrying. But it is going to be that Duskmane Necrozma. It is going to be faster now because we are in Trick Room.
Yeah, I think that Mimikyu's done his job there, but with the speed advantage, can Gio capitalize on that here? And it's hard to tell because not all of the attacks are super effective. Gio has in the field are super effective against what Andrew's presenting here. That if I was big threat, and he can't knock it out in one hit. He's gonna have to double tap it.
Yeah, I mean, the Necrozma is also in a bit of a tight spot because you can get knocked off in Flare Blitz, right? But Incineroar's going to go for the U-turn into that Yveltal is going to get out of there. Necrozma, I think, is in a kind of a precarious position because it's also like that stun boosted Flare Blitz,
Especially.
and then a Dark Aura boosted like knockoff. But going to negate that with a Kyogre in the back, so going to bring in this, going to get rid of that stun and bring down the rain here. So going to make sure that at least that Flare Blitz isn't going to do as much damage as Sunsteel Strike from that Necrozma is going to go probably into that Yveltal, I'm going to guess.
May not be a knockout, but at least Flare Blitz is not going to knock it out right away, and it is protected from super effective hits.
Ooh, but Andrew going for the U-turn into that Necrozma and is going to be able to pivot out there. You might be actually able to bring out that that Groudon again to bring in the sun. So obviously a little bit of like some weather fighting here. Yep, that is the Groudon that we're going to see come back into play here. So that rain that we just had is going to be taken away by the drought from Groudon. So a little bit of a scary thing right now for Necrozma. Knockoff goes into the Kyogre though, is going to do a lot of damage. Knocks off the Iron Ball. Very interesting choice of item there on that Kyogre.
I have not seen an Iron Ball on a Kyogre since 2010.
Oh my gosh. Mike, oh my goodness.
I mean that's how far back my memory goes at least.
That's very nice.
I mean, it was very common to ensure that
you underspeed in Trick Room still, right?
Not only underspeed in Trick Room, but when used as a lead, its weather will be predominant as we use Trigger
the
Blast.
weather, yes. Oh yeah, so I mean it is. I mean especially for Gio, whose team is obviously reliant on Trick Room. When you have Pokemon who potentially could be underspeeding you, you want to make sure that your Kyogre can at least be the fastest one in that mode that you're setting up.
Yeah, I'll agree that Iron Ball is probably more useful for allowing it to underspeed opposing Incineroar.
Right, so you've also protecting itself as Photon Geyser from the Necrozma is actually going to go into that Groudon spot. So Gio ignoring that protect does a good amount of damage into that Groudon as Kyogre goes for the Ice Beam, double downs into that Groudon, and it's actually going to pick up the knockout on it. And the Yveltal burned its protect on this turn. I think we've got 2 more turns of Trick Room. So Gio is using Trick Room to the best of his advantage.
Alright, there might not be many turns left, but Giovanni seems to be making most of it right now.
Yeah, I would like to say right now that Necrozma still has not had its weakness policy activated, so the fact that it's doing this much damage is still pretty good. It is at -1 now, actually. Yeah, so it is at -1 right now because of the Incineroar switching back in, but that Yveltal's in a bad spot. Now we know that this Kyogre isn't locked into any, possibly isn't locked into any sort of lead yet. We know that it has an Iron Ball, so can choose to kind of go after other things. Could go for the Ice Beam into that Yveltal if it wants.
That's true. I mean, even without Iron Ball, it's still likely to be slower than Yveltal. But that doesn't matter. It's switching out right now, bringing in the Incineroar for another attack drop on the Yveltal and the Incineroar, and which makes sense. I mean, Andrew was probably about to stall it. Some Trick Room's using a fake out hip of his own. But it doesn't look like Andrew's gonna be doing too much stalling.
Yeah, I mean that Victory Bell is coming in on this turn as we've got the fake out going into what was that Kyogre is now that Incineroar as Trick Room does end, and that Necrozma hid behind and protect on this turn. So if you're Andrew, you're gonna try to make sure that Gio can't get that Trick Room up again. But now Gio has that chance to stop any sort of has that fake out potential. Could actually go for a Flare Blitz after that Victory Bell. And this Necrozma, kind of in a tough spot because of the sun. If it gets hit by a Flare Blitz, it might be knocked out from this range, but fake out from Incineroar going into into Andrew's Incineroar. Weather Ball though going into that Necrozma. It is going to be super effective though, so it will activate the weakness policy. If it doesn't knock it out, does not.
Knockout there.
And I think if Gio sets up Trick Room here, he'll be able to use that Necrozma to his advantage, as that Life Orb does so much there. And we are getting the Trick Room mode set up again.
Ooh, I thought that was a gutsy switch in by Andrew there, bringing a Victory Bell, given it could be taken out by another steel move right then and there. Unfortunately, that calendar doesn't really seem to have paid off here, especially since now his very fast Victory Bell no longer has no speed advantage here.
And this Necrozma is going to be scary. It is at +1 actually right now for that attack, and +2 for that special attack because it has been intimidated before. However, Incineroar can go after that Victory Bell, and this Necrozma can go after that Incineroar. There's a lot of options I think on the table right now for Gio, where he can kind of just choose what to do. So protect from the Victory Bell. It's not going to take damage on this turn. It's up to Gio to decide if he calls that or if he goes after Andrew's Incineroar. Flare Blitz into the protect as Sunsteel Strike is going to go into that Incineroar on Andrew's side of the field.
Now we're going to see a KO here, even though it's
not
it's not a super effective hit, but it is boosted.
And it is going to be not enough. So
not
Barry
enough for a
goes,
KO.
"Ooh."
Activates the berry. That's gonna be rough there. We're putting it back over to half health, and so that'll survive at any. I was gonna say it was gonna survive any flare blitz.
Oh no! Oh man, does not. Yeah, wow. So the U-turn from that Incineroar is not enough to pick up a knockout on that Necrozma. We're probably gonna get that Groudon. Oh, we're gonna get the Yveltal in actually on this turn. So if the Yveltal has Sucker Punch, Gio's got to be really careful because that Sucker Punch would be able to knock out whatever it's gonna go after. As Sunlight fades on this turn, but I still think that like that small amount of chip, if you go after that Victory Bell, you can go after whatever either he switches into with that Incineroar or he can just go after that Victory Bell right now. And so Victory Bell is actually being withdrawn as we get that Incineroar, get another Intimidate into Necrozma. So it will be at neutral again, as Gio's Incineroar is going to be at -1, I think, right now. But if you can predict that, you can double down into it. But Necrozma protecting on this turn.
Yeah, I was gonna say that U-turn just missing the KO on Necrozma there was really rough for Andrew there. Like, maybe he needed the KO, but on the other hand, now I mean Necrozma still being on the field puts it in a position where it can be KO'd by a Sucker Punch at risk. So it's not displaying the same offensive pressure because it's in check essentially.
I mean, and now that Necrozma did burn its Protect as Yveltal went for that Sucker Punch. So now Gio has to kind of decide. He's going to lose Necrozma this turn, unless he switches it out, but he's going to lose Necrozma on this turn, so he has to figure out what can he take down with him before that happens. Both of Andrew's Pokemon are a little bit on the precipice of being knocked out. The last Pokemon he has in the back is a Kyogre. It's probably not going to be... Ooh. So he decides to preserve that the Necrozma and goes instead for the Kyogre out on the field, so another Sucker Punch is going to fail here if that's what Andrew goes for. Doesn't negate the damage that any sort of Flare Blitz is going to do from either of their Incineroars, as Protect is actually the move of choice from this Yveltal. And now we've got Fake Out from Andrew's Pokemon going into what was an Necrozma is now that Kyogre, and Incineroar going for the U-turn does not quite get it because of that Protect.
Well, again, Gio's still in an interesting position. A Sucker Punch is still threatens that Kyogre there, but again, Gio is still free to switch. But that means Kyogre will not be able to, threaten the Incineroar there, threaten Andrew's Incineroar there rather, and he's going to have. So that gives him a chance to launch an attack, maybe score a KO here on Necrozma.
Yeah.
And kind of see that. Here.
Oh man, this is gonna be interesting.
Weekend Costa coming in. This might be Andrew's chance here.
Oh, we do get a U-turn though into that Victory Bell that just switched in is going to be able to bring back that Kyogre on this spot. This Necrozma, I think, is actually going to go down on this turn for sure. Gio has a little bit of a disadvantage, but like his Necrozma is at a little bit, almost no health here. As we have a U-turn going into that Necrozma spot, does pick up the knockout on there, brings back in the Incineroar at least, and the Yveltal importantly. But now Weather Ball is going to be a Water type move, and against that Incineroar that Gio has to bring in now, it's going to be super effective.
That's true. And now this Trick Room turns are ticking. The clock is ticking. They might run out, and by the time...
Ooh, like right now. Yikes.
Like exactly right now. So, the only thing Gio has here to stop that Victory Bell from scoring a hit with Weather Ball or a Grass Knot onto Kyogre is that Fake Out, that one turn Fake Out. And after that, it's done.
So what do you do now? I mean, you go after that Victory Bell, like do you double down into it? Because if you're Andrew and you predict that, then you're wasting a Fake Out turn and you're wasting like a turn that you can attack with Kyogre, right? I mean, now you're terrified of that Sucker Punch range because I think that Kyogre is in range of the Sucker Punch unless you go for a knockoff into something. But Fake Out is such a good to have here. So Fake Out going into that Victory Bell is, wow, that is a lot of damage. Knockoff into Kyogre is not enough to pick up the knockout, and Kyogre does get the Ice Beam. It's going to connect into it. It's going to be enough to pick up the knockout here because that's super effective damage.
I would
Yep.
If only Andrew had gotten the Sucker Punch.
That Sucker Punch? Oh.
Seeing as Kyogre had already lost his Iron Ball, knockoff would have done 65 base damage compared to Sucker Punch's 80, which would have scored a sure knockout right there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's still a really tough spot, and I still think Andrew has a little bit of the advantage, because now Andrew has that fake out pressure. Sure, Incineroar is at full health, but its biggest move that it can use, Flare Blitz, is, actually, knockoff. If Gio has knockoff on this Incineroar, he can definitely do a lot of damage into whatever Pokemon is on Andrew's side of the field.
Plus, Jackson already has a weakened that is berry. I forget if it's used as berry already. Whereas
I don't know if that combo hit had mattered. I wasn't paying attention.
Joe's probably has not used it, has not had a chance to use it yet. So even though it's 2 against 1 here, these two are pretty low power.
But do you knockoff then? Because like you can use Dark Aura to your advantage. What you knock off
a knockoff onto Delta might not take it out there.
Knocked off the Assault Vest at least, but U-turn from Andrew goes into that Incineroar. Gets it down to half health. Flare Blitz in the rain though. All right, that's
still might score a respectable.
Oh, very nice. Oh no, not quite enough to get the knockout on there, and no chance of actually.
Rain ends 1 turn too late.
I mean that's rough. I mean, he might be able to do enough damage output to go against this, but I don't actually think there's a way out for Gio here, honestly.
No, it doesn't look like
and Gio doesn't see it either as he forfeits this match, giving game 1 to Andrew, who is on a hot winning streak right now. Definitely going to be quote unquote praising the sun because of that Groudon.
Well, I mean, we are in Los Angeles anyway. This is not the home territory for Rain.
Now, I will say though, I think that game was pretty well played. Gio managed to set up Trick Room twice. Andrew didn't really do anything to stop it. That Necrozma was really bulky and managed to survive through a lot of things. And I think though, if you're Andrew, you got to figure out a better way to counteract that. Weather balling that Necrozma in the sun was not the best idea.
That's true. He's going to have to respect the Vulcan and find some better ways to chip at it before positioning for a final knockout.
Yeah. But I also think if you're Gio, then you have to better respect the threat that that victory belt, and that Incineroar are bringing to your team. I mean, like, it's a weird sentence to say, respect the victory belt, but I think Andrew's been piloting it from the times we've seen it on stream in a very good way. Like, it has always been able to put out the pressure that it needs to, because most people, would overlook something like that.
It's true. I don't think we see the full range of Victory Bell's talents here. We haven't seen it get a chance to score some amazing KOs.
Yeah. And we've got Andrew actually going to try to take advantage of Trick Room modes, as we've got a Stack Attack and Incineroar lead, and Gio leading with Incineroar and Necrozma. So we do have Intimidates being switched between both on both sides, and Jackson's Intimidate goes first again. Jackson. I keep calling him Jackson. Sorry, Andrew. It's definitely, they're basically synonymous at this point. Even in our Discord chat, they have the same icon and like the same name, and it's getting very confusing.
I was tempted to mix it up too.
You guys are basically the same person now. Sorry, Andrew and Jackson, if you're listening. So, if Jackson's in the chat, please apologize.
Especially the Jackson on the screen right there.
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult when Jackson Finch's name is right under Andrew Weaver's name. So
I'm gonna start like calling these players after the Pokemon over and over.
We have Yveltal switching in though for that Stack Attack, and so going to be bringing that Dark Aura with it as well. But Fake Out from Andrew's Incineroar going to go into that Necrozma, going to stop Trick Room from being set up. As Incineroar, going for the Fake Out onto that Yveltal, and kind of like a dead turn. There was no chance for Trick Room to be set up. Andrew understanding, hey, I should not let that happen this time. And I think now if you're Gio, you're going to be scared because that Yveltal and that Incineroar can definitely double down onto you right now.
Yeah, I don't think Gio trying to set up a Trick Room right now is a really dicey move.
You're going to protect because Andrew's going to go after you with a knockoff and a Flare Blitz. And there we go, the knockoff going into that protected Necrozma spot as U-turn actually is going to be the move of choice, going into the Incineroar on Gio's side, allowing Andrew to kind of pivot back. But at least...
Well, we'll see what he has in back to pivot.
Is it going to be that Stack Attack again, or is it going to be a Groudon?
I mean, it's likely that Gio is about to pivot with his own U-turn, which would make Andrew's own pivoting, I mean...
By the way, I totally guessed that it was going to be a Groudon as the last Pokemon, and so Groudon is actually going to be bringing the sun with it. And we're going to see exactly what we get. Yeah, like you said.
Again, another pivot.
So what are we going to get this time? Are we going to get Totem Mimikyu, or are we going to get Kyogre? It's going to be one of those two. And I think if it's going to be Totem Mimikyu, then like you have 2 chances to set up. You have 2 chances now to kind of set up Trick Room. And you have to choose which one you're going to go for.
It's true, but is it worth it for Gio at this point to sacrifice one of his Pokemon to get up the Trick Room? Is he going to put enough pressure to get offensive pressure to take out most of Andrew's
do you
team
go after the
in
Groudon
those 5 turns?
Because remember, we've got the knockoff from that Yveltal. So actually, we're gonna get Incineroar. So gonna be intimidating. So this Yveltal is at -2, -1, -1.
It is -1 now.
And so is that Groudon. So now knockoff going into that Mimikyu most. Oh no, goes into the Incineroar. All right, so knocks off the Assault Vest super early on as Precipice Blades at -1 without. It's gonna break through the skies at least, but we are. Okay. So we get Trick Room up. Disguise is broken, but Incineroar goes down, and we can bring in Necrozma now.
Ooh, but that
Or Kyogre. Actually, it's probably gonna be Kyogre.
That's maybe a big blessing in disguise for Joe here, as in he's got free switch into one of his big
I think he planned that. I think he was expecting. He was expecting the Precipice Blades there, and so even if that knockoff had gone onto Necrozma, what would have happened is he would have been knocked out by the Precipice Blades.
There we see it. That Iron Ball Kyogre, right? Underspeeding everything, and which means outspeeding just about everything in Trick Room. And now Andrew has to spend 2 turns taking out that Groudon and bringing something in. So
I mean, he's in a very good spot because then he can bring in that Necrozma later, and as long as he keeps this Mimikyu around, we know it has a Focus Sash, but if it stays around, what can happen is it can set up Trick Room again later on if it needs to. I mean, we also know that it has Shadow Sneak that we've seen from round 1 against Haley that it has used before. So it is a Pokemon that can still only right now we've only seen it with Trick Room, but Kyogre is in a great spot to kind of go after some Pokemon here, as Andrew's like, nope, not gonna risk it, and sends back out that Stack Attacker, which is going to do fantastic in this Trick Room mode. Ooh. And a Protect actually from that Yveltal, so Andrew going to make sure he doesn't get damaged from there. As the Kyogre goes for a Water Spout, is going to be at full health though. It's the fastest thing that Stack Attack is going to be taking a full health Water Spout at this range. Is going to easily get knocked out from there. So Andrew loses his best answer for Geo's Trick Room mode, as Will-O-Wisp from Mimikyu does not connect behind that Protect.
Yeah. In Andrew's position, you can see that was the only sacrifice he had to make, and now to bring Groudon in, and so he's nerfed Geo's offensive pressure here, but Geo still has a lot of tricks here. We saw that Will-O-Wisp is a good threatening Groudon, and Ice Beam. Ice Beam threatening Groudon. Will-O-Wisp can threaten Yveltal.
I mean, Geo still has options here. I mean, you can also Will-O-Wisp the Groudon as well, because it's still not a Fire type thanks to the fact that it's not the Time Loop version.
Yeah.
Even though it's coloring, it totally throws this off. But
I think some very careful pivoting by Andrew here can stall out the rest of the street.
Ooh, Kyogre showing Protect actually this turn. Sucker Punch gonna fail against that Kyogre as Mimikyu goes for the Will-O-Wisp. Is gonna connect this time into that Yveltal. Groudon's gonna be able to go for the Precipice Blades here, but that Yveltal is now on a timer here. So Kyogre obviously not gonna be taking damage. Mimikyu is gonna be gonna take a lot of damage. It does have the Focus Sash still intact though, and is actually does not even really matter. It is gonna be here. Mimikyu has a chance to go for it one more time, go for another Will-O-Wisp. Because why not?
I mean, I wasn't paying attention. Was that Mimikyu faster under Trick Room, or did? No, you're right.
Yes, it was faster under Trick Room. Yes.
So it does threaten that Groudon.
Incineroar though being switched out manually in place of that Groudon, so if Geo did not call that, he's going to be wasting that Will-O-Wisp's Water Spout though. It's going to be the move of choice, still at full health in the sun though, so close. I'm picking up that knockout on there. Oh, gets a critical hit though, that makes sense. That would have been so crazy if that was like a regular, but does kind of pack up to about half health of Will-O-Wisp. Not going to connect obviously because of the fact that it is a Fire type. As
I know. I was
kind
of expecting to see the appearance of Incineroar earlier, as it would have great for absorbing that Will-O-Wisp protecting the Yveltal there.
I mean, I think it's still scary because then your Groudon takes a lot of damage from that Water Spout, and now that the Iron Ball has been knocked off, Geo still has a chance to kind of pivot from going from Water Spout now that you have taken damage to going for an Ice Beam against something. And Mimikyu is still in this. This is the last turn of Trick Room, so Geo has to really make the most of it and make sure that Groudon in the back is threatened by everything that he has, which actually is going to be tough because he's still got the Necrozma, but no Intimidate.
True. The Necrozma is if Mimikyu goes down here, Necrozma is his last chance of setting a Trick Room, and
ooh, kind of a bad turn I think right there as Trick Room does run out. Actually, so Andrew now has to focus his attention on knocking out that Mimikyu. So if that Mimikyu doesn't get knocked out, it's gonna set up Trick Room.
And even then, even if Andrew takes out the Mimikyu here, he doesn't have as many tools for taking out the Necrozma. Now that Yveltal is burned, he can no longer.
Well, Precipice Blaze is still a thing, and like Necrozma might be able to, you know, hold on with a weakness policy, but it's gonna be slower than that Precipice Blaze Groudon, and it's if Geo loses both these Pokemon, it's gonna be a single target Precipice Blaze, and that's not something you can really come back from.
That's true.
So I think this is going to be the pivotal turn to see if Gio can come out of this and force the game 3, or if Andrew is going to move on to finals.
I mean,
Ooh, Kyogre is going to be retreated as we get Necrozma actually out on the field. Necrozma, if it takes a Fire Blast, if it takes a knockoff, it's going to be super effective, and it's going to act. Is it going to go to the? Yes, it's going to activate the weakness policy on there. Fun fact: weakness policy doesn't get knocked off. By the way, it gets activated.
unless you score a KO, but that's.
Oh, is it going to double down? So Flare Blitz is going to go into actually that Mimikyu, but this is going to give Gio the chance to bring back into that Kyogre. It's going to be a little bit of a tough call though, because now Andrew has a chance to bring in
Groudon, and then.
However, Necrozma also has Trick Room, and he's not really being threatened by that Yveltal.
Not at the moment, no.
No. So here's
and in fact, you know, Giovanni may take the opportunity to just skip going with Trick Room and go straight on the offensive since.
I mean, hey, if you can catch the Groudon in on the switch, that would be fantastic. So here's the thing: if that Groudon switches in, then Necrozma has that free chance to kind of set up if it needs to. Andrew still has a chance to kind of like negate the damage from that special attack. Oh, foul play though. That's a nice move.
Yeah, I mean,
that knocks it out.
Takes advantage. Okay, definitely took advantage of that.
However. Oh no, I think this is gonna be Andrew's game to win. Even Water Spout, like Water Spout can't do anything over here, but if you have Ice Beam, because the Ice Beam, he might be able to do something. I think this is actually Andrew's game to win. That was. Sorry, foul play Yveltal. That is fantastic to see. That was great.
I mean, even though it has its damage tapped by the burn, that weakness policy even. You know, the attack boost that needed.
Ooh, Water Spout at this range does not do anything. Like, look at that sad damage to that Groudon. And we don't have Trick Room. This Precipice Blaze is going to be single target. I don't think there's anything to do.
I mean, Bondsley, fake tears for Groudon.
Fake tears for Groudon. We do see the forfeit screen pop up on Gio's side and he does forfeit this match, giving game 2 and the round to Andrew, putting him in finals. So, very good job to Andrew. That was a great way of navigating that Trick Room.
Do we have any idea who his opponent is going to be?
Well, Riley was cursing with Storm earlier, so potentially Sean. I mean, I think they're still in game. So, you know, we'll come back to you guys. We'll come back to you guys as soon as we get the last finals. But we'll see Andrew again, and we'll
see you on the finals.
Yeah, we'll see that victory belt by Yveltal one more time. So until then, don't go anywhere, guys. Okay.
Oh, I can never get enough of that victory belt.